Norwegian literature is a rich and diverse literary tradition that spans centuries and has inspired readers around the world. Norwegian literature, steeped in rich history and cultural heritage, offers a captivating glimpse into the soul of a nation shaped by rugged landscapes and the enduring spirit of exploration. Norwegian writers have woven tales of love, loss, adventure, and resilience that resonate with readers around the world. Henrik Ibsen. Henrik Johan Ibsen was a Norwegian playwright and theater director. As one of the founders of modernism in theater, Ibsen is often referred to as the father of realism and the most influential playwright of the 19th century, as well as one of the most influential playwrights in Western literature. His major works include Brand, Peer Gynt, Emperor and Galilean, A Doll's House, Ghosts, An Enemy of the People, The Wild Duck, Rosmersholm, Hedda Gabler, The Master Builder, and When We Dead Awaken. Ibsen is the most frequently performed dramatist in the world after Shakespeare, and A Doll's House was the world's most performed play in 2006. Ibsen was born into an elite merchant family in the port town of Skien, the tightly intertwined Ibsen-Paus family, and described his background as patrician. He established himself as a theater director in Norway during the 1850s and gained international recognition as a playwright with the plays Brand and Peer Gynt in the 1860s. Most of Ibsen's plays are set in Norway, often in bourgeois environments and places reminiscent of Skien, and he frequently drew inspiration from family members. Several of his later dramas were considered scandalous to many of his eras when European theater was expected to model strict morals of family life and propriety. Ibsen's later work examined the realities behind the facades, revealing much disquieting to several of his contemporaries. He had a critical eye and conducted a free inquiry into the conditions of life and issues of morality. Ibsen influenced other playwrights and novelists such as George Bernard Shaw, Oscar Wilde, and James Joyce. Considered a profound poetic dramatist, he is widely regarded as the most important playwright since Shakespeare. Knut Hamsun. Knut Hamsun was a Norwegian writer who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1920. Hamsun's work spans over 70 years and shows variation in consciousness, subject, perspective, and environment. He published more than 23 novels, a collection of poetry, some short stories and plays, a travelogue, nonfiction works, and some essays. Hamsun is considered to be one of the most influential and innovative literary stylists of the past 100 years. He pioneered psychological literature with techniques of stream of consciousness and interior monologue and influenced authors such as Thomas Mann, Franz Kafka, Maxim Gorky, Stefan Zweig, Henry Miller, Hermann Hesse, John Fante, James Kelman, Charles Bukowski, and Ernest Hemingway. Isaac Bashevis Singer called Hamsun the father of the modern school of literature in every aspect. His subjectiveness, his fragmentariness, his use of flashbacks, his lyricism. The modern school of fiction in the 20th century stems from Hamsun. Since 1916, several of Hamsun's works have been adapted into motion pictures. The young Hamsun objected to realism and naturalism. He argued that the main object of modernist literature should be the intricacies of the human mind and that writers should describe the whisper of blood and the pleading of bone marrow. Hamsun is considered the leader of the neo-romantic revolt at the turn of the 20th century, with works such as Hunger, 1890, Mysteries, 1892, Pan, 1894, and Victoria, 1898. His later works, particularly his Nordland novels, were influenced by the Norwegian New Realism, portraying everyday life in rural Norway and often employing local dialect irony and humor. Hamsun only published one poetry collection, The Wild Choir, set to music by several composers. Jo Nesbø. Jo Nesbø is a Norwegian writer best known internationally for a series of crime novels featuring hard-boiled detective Harry Hole. Nesbø grew up in Molde, Western Norway. While in school, he played guitar and sang in a pop-rock band. He graduated from the Norwegian School of Economics in Bergen with a degree in economics. After graduating, he took a job as a stockbroker while maintaining a vision of himself as a singer-songwriter. In 1992, he helped start a band named Didere, which recorded several albums. Working at a stressful day job and performing with his increasingly popular band at night eventually took its toll on Nesbø. When someone suggested he write a book about traveling with the band, he took it as a challenge. asked for 6 months off, went to Australia, and returned with his first Harry Hole novel. Nesbø's whole series proved extremely popular and was translated into many languages. Its popularity was partly because of tight plotting, and partly because of Nesbø's method of presenting his main character. Throughout the series, Hole battles his demons, sometimes successfully, but more often not. Each successive volume deepens the reader's experience with Hole and his life on the edge. Furthermore, the later books refer to incidents in the earlier books, another effect that adds dimension to Hole's profoundly flawed but essentially sympathetic personality. Jo Nesbø has sold over 55 million books worldwide, and his books have been translated into more than 50 languages. Karl Ove Knausgård. Karl Ove Knausgård is a Norwegian writer whose 6-volume autobiographical novel, Min Kamp, or My Struggle, proved to be a runaway bestseller in Norway, and also captivated a large and growing number of English-language readers. Some consider him the greatest Norwegian writer since playwright Henrik Ibsen. Knausgård was the second child of an English teacher and a nurse, and he grew up on the island of Tromøy and in Kristiansand, both in southern Norway. As Knausgård revealed in the first volume of his autobiography, his father was a brutal and demanding man who humiliated and belittled his son, and their relationship essentially formed the author's sense of himself. Knausgård graduated from the University of Bergen. Few would have predicted Knausgård's fame. But his first novel, Ut av verden, Out of the World, was masterfully written and became the first debut novel to win the Norwegian Critics' Prize. With his first marriage to journalist Tonje Arslan broken and feeling an increasing sense of existential nausea, he moved to Stockholm. There, he married Swedish writer Linda Bostrom. He further determined not only to tell the story of his own life without hiding behind a character's persona, but also to examine it in excruciating detail in an attempt to find meaning in an ordinary life. All this he began to do using the actual names of the people in his life and writing his thoughts uncensored. Karl Ove Knausgård's My Struggle is a remarkable series of 6 autobiographical novels. Written by Knausgård himself, these books delve into the banalities and humiliations of his life, his private pleasures, and his dark thoughts. Sigrid Undset. Sigrid Undset was a Norwegian novelist who received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1928. Her father was an archaeologist, and her home life was steeped in legend, folklore, and the history of Norway. Both this influence and her own life story are constantly present in her works, from 11 years, in which she tells of her childhood, to the story of her flight from Nazi-occupied Norway, published originally in English as Return to the Future. She worked in the office of an electrical engineering firm for 10 years before she married, bore children, and began to write. Her early novels deal with the position of women in the contemporary, unromantic world of the lower middle class. These include Splinten av Trollspejlet, Images in a Mirror, and Jenny, 1911. She then turned to the distant past and created what is considered her masterpiece, the trilogy Kristin Lavransdatter, 1920-22. Though the medieval climate of the novel is strikingly evoked, it is still a story of a woman's fate, portraying the proud, independent Kristin's growth through her marriage to a charming but irresponsible man into a strong but humble and self-sacrificing woman. Both in this and in the 4-volume historical novel, Olav Audunson, the Master of Hestviken, religious problems are prominent and reflect the author's preoccupation with such matters. During the Nazi occupation of Norway, she fled the country and spent the remainder of the war years in the United States, lecturing and writing on behalf of her war-torn country and its government in exile. Norwegian literature offers a rich tapestry of voices and perspectives, spanning centuries of storytelling tradition and reflecting the complex nuances of Norwegian culture and society. From the timeless dramas of Henrik Ibsen to the thrillers of Jo Nesbø, Norwegian writers continue to captivate and inspire readers around the world. Make sure to let us know your thoughts and don't forget to like today's video. Thanks for watching.